Hi, welcome to this episode of Being a Coach, a podcast about leadership, more than X's and O's, just the things that we face every day as coaches within life, teaching our players, and also any obstacles that we may face. I am your host, Jeremiah Hicks, and here with me I have
Orlando Carrillo,
and we are coaches. So for today's episode, I wanted to talk about just things that parents should know or how they may impact their athletes. So with that being said, specifically, I would like to share a story. So this isn't currently, and first and foremost, this is not a podcast, or this episode would not be about bashing parents, their parenting styles. It's just us discussing experiences that we have shared or with parents of players that we have probably taught or coached, and just how they were able to help us, or they could have been detrimental to their athletes' success. So the story I like to start off with is one year I had an irate parent out of nowhere, didn't even know that this parent existed. Me and this player had this amazing relationship. The player could confide in me, but every time this parent came around after I met them for the first time, I noticed a certain change within that player. And just think about that relationship, that is somewhere that we could start off from today. So, Coach Carrillo, something that I can think of, or let's start with you as far as what is something that you think when it comes to athlete success and their parents, what is something that, would be good for an athlete in regards to their parent?
I just think where a parent just talks to them, stops coaching them, just trying to be their parent. A lot of times parents want to tell them what to do, what they're doing wrong, and it's totally opposite of what the coaches are telling them. They're invested in the wrong part of the process and not in the growth of the child itself. And so it's just sometimes they do more damage than help without even knowing it, because they're trying to be parents. They're doing their best they can. They want the success of their child to be there, but sometimes I feel like it hurts them a little bit.
Right. And even with that, so thinking more of the line, so we coached the game the other night, right? And we had a parent who was going up and down the sideline, coaching their child. And from other parents' perspective or other coaches, they may think or assume all right, so that parent may be a problem for that child, or making that child nervous, or I wonder if the coach has any bad interactions with that parent or whatever. But as you mentioned, something that I like for parents to realize, just be a parent, be in the moment, especially during it. So as you mentioned, we're the ones thinking about X's and O's, right? And I was talking to someone the other day, and they mentioned about how coaching now isn't so much about X's and O's anymore. It's about more emotions. You're coaching for emotions, not for fundamentals, not even really for winning a game, but we always talk about winning life, right? So in that situation there, a coach could be distracted and thinking okay, what mental or emotional aspect is that parent triggering right now? It could be a positive or it could be a bad thing. Is that something that you ever thought about?
I guess never really have thought about it like that, but it's true, because a lot of times I just feel like sometimes an athlete gets a little bit more nervous when their parent starts acting kind of crazy, because they're not paying attention to the game. They're more looking to the crowd, is mom or dad pleased with what is going on? And we have a parent, or we have situations where we tell the child, don't shoot the ball, get yourself a better shot, and the parents are like, shoot it, just, you're doing right. And it's actually it's total different of what we're trying to tell a student what to do, or a child what to do. And so, and you see it about like that through all ages of life, because me having a chance to work at the university, just seeing parents sitting on the stands and screaming at their child, and then you have every now and then that one athlete that turns around and looks back and is trying to get the affirmation from the parents, and coach is like, hey, I'm talking to you, trying to get their attention again. So yeah, I think sometimes they don't understand what the emotional part that they're bringing to the aspect, and it's a huge emotion is a huge part of the game, in the athlete's mind, that's for sure. At least I think.
And even considering that, like one could be able to think, all right, on the aspect of how far like mentally, emotionally it goes. Whereas, we don't judge anyone. Like we don't know what goes on in these households. And as we're coaching based off of emotions, that child or that student athlete is thinking like, okay, I'm happy that my parent is here, but also like what communications are these parents having with athletes outside of sports? Me specifically, how we have the 24-hour rule. Like when a game is over with, like don't come talk to us, especially if you are super emotional or you feel as though something could be done better. Like, especially win, lose, or draw, but especially after a loss, like no one wants to hear that. But specifically to the parents as well as athlete, like parents, like don't talk about the game directly after the game, like the ride home. Like we talked about it the other day, like you was like, do parents ask, how was your day? Because that student athlete is already thinking to themselves, especially if they had a bad game, like, oh, I could have did this, because not only they're dealing with one, but a coach probably has said, we are human beings as well. We probably say some things based off of emotion in that moment. And that's why we take time to think about what happened, to come back to the athlete the very next day or 2 days later, like, hey, I apologize. I reacted like this, or if you took that, I meant it this way. And another thing, crazy situation. I always tell my players, I would never put you in a situation where you're not successful. And I had a student ask me about their playing time. Coach, what can I do to get more playing time? First and foremost, I respect the young man. He came to me as an individual, but then the parent wasn't there. But I like to also go to the parent, let the parents know what conversation it was that we had. Or if I could talk to that player, I like to talk to them in front of their parents, so the parents fully understand the type of coach that I am and what it is that their child, son or daughter, needs in that moment. So I like to suggest to them, like, hey, after the game, like just ask them how they days going. And when they feel like talking about, like, hey, do you want to talk about the game or anything, or what was something that coach said tonight? Because even their friends could say something to them, like, hey man, like you ain't passed the ball. Like as much as we teach, fellowship, friendship, like we're a family, like in that moment, like it can go either way. And with that being said, like that's something that you have ever thought about or have dealt with or want to add to?
Well, I mean, think about it. We've coached at multiple levels. Both of us have, and just understanding that part, that when a child actually comes up to you, an athlete comes up to you and says, hey coach, what can I do to get more playing time, or what do you think I need to do? It's a lot of times it's those harsh reality conversations that you have to have with the athlete, that you're not trying to hurt them, but you have to be honest. I think that's the biggest thing about a coach, honesty. Being able to be honest with your players, and that the athlete understands coach is coming from a good place. He's not trying to knock me down, and it's like, with our young athletes that we told at the parent meeting, like, hey, let your child talk to me. Let them tell me that they're not going to be here for doctor's appointments or dentist appointments or whatever, or that they're sick. Don't do it for them, because we're not just trying to build athletes. We're trying to build great young men, because they're going to have a job one day, and they're going to have to call in if they're sick or they have something, not their mom and dad. And so we get them doing that now. It builds an athlete. And I think the hardest conversation that I think we have is that about playing time, is that conversation of, coach, why am I not playing, or how do I play more, and then watching the student actually do what you're asking them to do, and then you turn it and reward them with playing time. Because like I've told athletes before, and you have too, you gain my confidence in practice. You gain my confidence. You don't gain my confidence in a game. You gain it in practice. So the more I see you, the more you do things that I'm asking you to do, the more I know you're going to do it in a game situation where you're going to lose your head because emotions run high.
All the time. And even with that, like, I know with me, I made it my job, and you have witnessed it, and I've always done it, is I took away, flaws from coaches who I have either worked with or experienced as an athlete myself, and I try to be the very best that I can be. So that's why with the athletes, like, I let them know, like, for one, anyone can tell my voice is so monotone. Like, I like to be one way. Like, if I yell, like, I don't like doing it, but I let all my players know, like, hey, this is the reason why I'm doing it, because I have these expectations of you. And even with parents, like, how kids say, I had some coaches who have told teammates of mine, or either coaches I work with, like, really told players, like, don't shoot the ball at all, or if it's football, you're not the one to be a ball carrier, like, no matter what. Like, if you recover a fumble, don't run it. Or, like, I coach baseball and softball, like, okay, I'm just gonna put such on the field in this area where they be hitting. Like, no, I let everybody know you're on the team for a reason. But even with my parents, like, let your child know, like, be there to support them. First of all, always be honest. Everyone is not gonna be the next LeBron James. Like, everyone is not going to automatically try to sport, and like, everybody listens to these stories like, oh, such and such never played this sport ever in their life, and they tried it later on at like 16 and 17, and they were instantly good. That worked for some people, not everybody. I've seen people who have blossomed and at early age and just been the top of everything, but by the time they get to like high school and it's time to go to college, everyone else has caught up. I want people to understand that, like, preach that to your kids, like, support them, like, hey Johnny, hey Susie, you're not the very best right now on the team, but when you're not around coach or when you have free time, like, work on your game. Because even right now, we talk about all the time, like, we don't win every single game, like with the 7th graders that we have. But man, I am extremely proud of those young men every single game, because there's something that they're working on, something that they have gotten better at, and they're only in 7th grade. So think about what happened this off season. And I love to tell parents as well, if you can make it to a practice, look, if a coach tells you you can't be at their practice, honestly, I wouldn't want my child to play for that coach, because I want to see the development if I can be there. Just like with the conversations, we have a player who joke all the time. I ask, like, why you shoot that shot? And they're like, yeah, coach, I know you told me not to shoot it. And then we laugh about it because their parents there. It's like, I want parents to understand, I don't want them not to shoot at all. I want them to shoot with confidence, and I can tell that. And a lot of times they don't know, like, if they can advocate for themselves with their coaches, these conversations, they build and trust more talking to their parents. Everybody have that favorite parent, just like with coach. Like, okay, like, some kids can talk to me and be like, hey, coach, is this here how I feel, such. And I let you know because they don't feel comfortable talking to you directly. Or it could be the same way, vice versa. Or sometimes just like our personality, like, they don't know sarcasm, so they think that we're serious all the time. So it's just an environment, and you want parents to understand that as well, because I would honestly say all my years of coaching, this year and what we have going on, I love the players we have, and I extremely love the parents that we have, because they're not even situations or issues that has arise to the point where the parents have been forward about every little thing, and they be like, coach, whatever you decide, whatever you do, like, we support you. And that's all that you could ask for, because you're a team with the parents. Us as coaches, them as parents, like, we're working together about the success of these young men or these young women. And what more can you ask for? With that also being on my mind, I was wondering, we talk about different levels. What experience do you have or that you come across with parents, even for your college players?
With college players, it's been a lot different. I've had the pleasure to work for three different head coaches, and each one was different. And I've noticed more like all three had relationships with the parents. But it seems like more this generation where the parents are showing up to the games and like after every game they're like waiting for us by our coach's office to say something. And it's not necessarily a negative situation, but it's like, coach, I thought, so-and-so was going to do this better, or, we're talking to him, coach, or, and it's just a little different because normally when we would, win or lose, we would go back into our office and we sit down and we kind of debrief as coaches and go over stats and what we're seeing and, kind of game plan already starting for the next game or continue game planning because we'd already game planned already a couple of days before that. But there's a lot of conversation. It's just different because normally, like I said, parents kind of stayed away. And now with this generation, I feel like it's just the parents are more and more active. And I think it's more and more important that they understand what kind of role they play with their child. And that being said, like even going back to the middle school ages right now, like, we have great parents who, like you said, are supportive of everything, like texting constantly, like, hey coach, I'm thinking this, kind of making it better, this atmosphere for the game for the students, and I love it. And it's just like same thing with my high school team, like I have parents scheduling once a week team dinners. And, the photos I get, because I'm not able to go because me and you have Thursday night games. And so they kind of meet with that one family and they all get together and they eat and then they go play 3-on-3 basketball. And I'm getting text messages like, coach, so-and-so's team won, or just the pictures of them smiling. It's just, you notice that the parent, like I told a parent last night after the game, was just like, thank you for hosting the team dinner, because you don't understand, like, the culture that we're trying to build. And it's not even me building it, it's the parents helping me build it on that part of the game. And so, and then the parents will say, well, we see how they share the ball. And it's like, yeah, because they're a team. They just, you'll hear a lot of teams say, family on me, family on three, but do they really understand what family is? They just say it because they think they're a team, but you really know certain teams just like, no, they really are there for one another. They're happy for each other's success. Yeah, they're worried about the points, I think everybody is, right? But at the same time, it's just like they understand if so-and-so has never scored before and all of a sudden he gets his first basket, the bench goes crazy. And it's just like, it brings a smile to your face to watch the young man on the court smiling because he just scored, and then watching the bench go crazy. And then, of course, as coaches, we take a look at the fans and we look over and we see, his or her parent like laughing and smiling, or, with the cameras out. And it just brings a good feeling all the way around. So I just think that right now, this generation, the parents are a little bit more involved. And again, it's just really important to understand that what they're bringing to the table and how they can help us versus hurting their own athlete.
Exactly. And even with you, like, mentioning that, like, I feel like that there would be a good segue to end it on, like, to end this on something positive. Like, yeah, I can go into many different things, all the negatives, and that's what a lot of podcasts and conversations about are the negative aspects of parents, those who are not in a child's life, how it affects them, or, getting too rowdy to the point where coaches get into fight with parents. Or recently in Mississippi, there was a fight a basketball game where, it led to fans and parents fighting, even like students. I don't want to end on that, but like you mentioned that, like, it put a smile on my face because even thinking about like this week. So Whereas with our parents, one, they're look, we're not saying that our parents are perfect in any kind of way. It's just this experience this year has been one. And how you talk about like getting everybody to experience and know that we are a family together. Like at practices, we have to practice in two different places because of the facilities. Well, even students or players you think probably don't interact. I heard the players the other day like, "Oh yeah, did you see such a group message?" Like, okay, we didn't have to initiate that. And like even the parents have their own group message, and just to see like certain players who are catching ride together to go to practice like that, there is enjoyable moment. And even how you mentioned about not one person, just a team being excited for a certain player scoring the basket. It's everybody, and like it's a great feeling to even see a parent of another player congratulating this player, like hey Johnny, hey Susie, like you did a great job, like I saw that shot, like that's not your own child. But then even those smaller things, those players who don't have a parent who can show up because of the economy of this time and work schedule, like that goes so much. I want parents to also realize like you are the main motivation. Like you can't see their success all the time, but when you have a chance to see their success, go ahead, congratulate them, enjoy the moment. Look, as much as we can, look, we try to record games and like film games and take pictures and send to you. So, and that's why I want to, on a positive note for today. So, as mentioned, this episode of being a coach, it's all about leadership, fellowship, love, and happiness. Like, let's be a team. Let's work together for the sake of our student athletes. Have a good day.